Hey there! This plan with me is a very special one because it's dedicated to my grandmother. She was a teacher and she was a huge inspiration that touched many children's lives. So that's why I chose this quote: by doing what you love, you inspire and awaken the hearts of others. She was such a dedicated person that she even asked one of Mexico's presidents for sewing machines and for fabrics to make some clothes for the children. As you can already tell, the children were really poor, so they had nothing to wear and nothing to eat. So she also got them lunches, and all in all, she spent her life traveling from rural school to rural school, looking for children she could teach and help. She was so much into teaching that before she passed, she was asking my mom for a group of children that she could teach. So I am truly honored to tell you about my grandma's story and how she touched the lives of many, and of course mine. She was a role model in my life and I dearly miss her, but I'm truly grateful for everything that she did and left behind as a legacy. She was born in July 1918, and she grew up in a ranch somewhere in Mexico among mountains and hills. She used to be a shepherd. Her favorite lamb was called Lannis, which in English would translate to little wool. She also had a shepherd dog whose name was Captain, and a beautiful dark horse whose name was Morning Star, because he had a star-shaped white spot on the forehead. So growing up like this, she actually led a very simple life full of contentment and of service for others. So I'm guessing this really shaped the way she came to be the kind spirit that she was in the end, because she was always looking for ways to give or to help. And that is something that I will always remember ever since I was little. Always giving to others, always sacrificing for others. And I think that is the most beautiful quality about her. So anyway, speaking about the drawing, I am using just one ink. It's from Herbin, and it's the exact shade of brown that I wanted because it gives it all a vintage vibe. It also has some golden sparkles which are not visible through the camera, but all in all, I think I fell in love with this technique of using just one color and then adding all the details by diluting it. So if you know me, you know I love ink and I love adding some sparkle. So here I'm just finishing it all with some washi tape and some golden accents. Moving on in our timeline, during the 1920s, my grandmother excelled at the school in her little town. So all the people in town cooperated so that she could go to a better school in a bigger city. And so she did. And she not only went there to get a higher education, but she also learned all sorts of crochet and embroidery, and these are actually some of the books and magazines that she collected. They are very old, so I'm carefully going through them, but I found some pages that I thought I could use for this spread. I honestly felt kind of bad ripping them apart, but these magazines are so old that my mom is just going to scan them or take pictures and throw them away. So I thought I might as well put some of those to use, and I will just have a beautiful memory in my bullet journal. So for this mood board, I of course wanted to include pictures of my grandmother with her students. But also, this particular one is a small frame that she made for my grandfather, who is pictured there. And I'm amazed at the beautiful work that she did with those tiny feathers. So I had to include that. And here you'll have to excuse the camera is out of focus, but I'm just adding some details here and there. And the rest of the pictures are from those magazines that I showed you before and from some postcards. As you can see, back in the day, the postcards were just like black and white pictures that they would bring to life or make special with some hints of color here and there. And those colors are really bright. I'm just so glad that my mom kept all those postcards, because now they not only inspire the palette that I'm using, but I think they give a very nice retro touch to this overall spread. The picture in the middle is of my mother with my grandparents. I love that picture, and I have thousands more, but I chose the most special ones for this mood board. This next spread is my health tracker, which it's just the second month that I am trying this new layout, and it's been really helpful. It gives me an overall view of my sleep, hunger, mood, and energy, and it's really nice to see it all, how it changes from day to day, and it's been truly helpful. As for the timeline in my grandmother's life, she spent middle school and high school in the same institute, and then she started to become a teacher. And in this time and on, if she was not studying or teaching, she was knitting or doing some crochet or anything that had to do with it. We have thousands of doilies that she made, also handkerchiefs and cross stitch, and I have this beautiful blouse that she made with crochet that is my favorite one, and it's not the only one. I have like 15 or 20 more, but she loved it, and she truly, it was her pastime, her one and only hobby, and I got to learn from her to do some granny squares and some basic things. She also made scarves with yarn, lots of scarves. I have a vivid image of her in my mind, always knitting. And I think that's really cute, because it's like what we think of when we think of grandmothers. So I devoted this one spread to her crochet and all that she did, because right now it's of course a treasure and a lovely thing to have from her, because she was always knitting for someone, and that makes all those items all the more special. Moving on to the next spread for my mental inventory, expense tracker and monthly log. The timeline here takes us to the time when she started traveling as a teacher from school to school. I think this was right before she met my grandfather. She was really young, and there's this picture of her with the children, and she has her hat and her bicycle, and I think it's just so beautiful and inspiring that you will see me draw her on this spread. But here I am drawing just a board with some letters. I remember her teaching me how to do manuscript That's one of the things that I really enjoyed learning from her. And here I am drawing the lunch that she got for the children. It used to be a bottle of milk, a boiled egg, a banana, and a candy. And all children got to have that for breakfast. Back in the day, public schools asked for a very small fee to pay for those lunches, but some kids didn't have it, and my grandparents would overlook that. My mom says that once one of those kids gave my granddad the coin of the smallest value, and he just said thank you and handed him the lunch. You know, it would have been hard to not give those kids the nourishment they needed just because they didn't have money. So they truly care for them, and it's something that I love learning about my grandparents. And by the way, I didn't get to meet my grandfather in person, but my grandma was with me for many years, and I got to hear her stories and learn from her many things, and I'm just honored to have had her as my grandmother. For the next breath, we are at that time when she was already a teacher and my grandfather was like an inspector, educational inspector, and they met and they fell in love and they got married. He was actually 15 years older than her, and that same thing happened to my other grandmother, so I guess it was common back then. But you know, they just fell in love and they were equally devoted to the children's education. So now they got to travel together from town to town, helping children and teaching them and becoming examples of kindness and of giving. So afterwards, of course, they welcomed their first of 6 children. They had 5 boys and 1 girl. And that little girl was my mother. They bought a house in Mexico City right before she was born. They settled there and they lived there the rest of their lives, always teaching and always giving of themselves for others. And now is the perfect time to show you how I will be including in this spread a wax seal that Craspire sent me. Craspire is an online stationery shop that specializes in wax seals, but has other beautiful items as well. And I think it's a really nice coincidence that the owner of the store was inspired by her grandparents too. In her own words, she believes every letter has a story. The beautiful memories should be sealed in letters and wait to be opened with hope and love. That's why she founded Craspire. So they were kind enough to collaborate with me in a series of videos by sending me some products that I will be featuring throughout the month. The vintage vibe is all over the place in their products, and it's perfect for my September theme. So here you see me using a wax seal kit for the first time ever, and I actually fell in love with it. It came with this beautiful copper wax seal beads, wax candles, a melting spoon, and a Dragonfly wax seal stamp. It was really easy to use, and it's the perfect final touch for a spread that is inspired by matrimony. If you are interested in this wax seal kit, I will link it below, and of course you can have 5% off if you use my code NALA5. So back to the spread, I am just finishing off with some washi tape. I feel that it's the details that really bring it all together and make it a lot more cute. And I will be covering the mistake that I made earlier with the marker. I know it doesn't look ideal, but I've learned to just embrace mistakes And actually, when I fill this meal tracker up, it's not going to be noticeable. And it's time for the last spread for today. It's a doodles spread, and it's all about my grandmother. I tore this page from one of her magazines, and so I'm using some scraps to add some details here. But the doodles this month are going to be totally inspired by the things that I remember about her, by the things she gave me, and it's going to be a very special one. So I'm really looking forward to filling it out. And of course I will be using this brown ink to do so, because it really gives it the vintage vibe that I'm falling in love with. If you want to see those doodles, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and you can even join the fun and tag me on your posts so that I can see them. So that's it. This is the final flip through of my September setup. I thoroughly enjoyed this one, especially since I started gathering all those pictures and memories. I encourage you to do something like this, to dedicate a month to honor one of your family members or just someone that you look up to, because in doing so, we come to realize how much they contributed to who we are now, and also to the improvement of others' lives. My grandmother will forever live in my heart, and now in this month of my bullet journal. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and subscribe to follow my bullet journal journey. And as usual, thank you so much for watching.